That country is busy arresting Kenyans and mistreating Kenyans.
Because you're invading the sovereignty of Tanzania.
Yeah, so you want to be a neighbor where we help each other, but then when we want to come in and help you with certain things, you call it invasion.
Do you feel like she was referring to Kenyans when she said that?
I think it was put out there for certain people, Kenyans being part of that statement. But I think, first of all, it is a shame that we're even talking about the East African Assembly, which is physically situated in Arusha, in Tanzania. This Samia Suluhu should not only be ashamed of bringing down the democracy in her country, but also being the symbol of disunity, corruption, rigging of elections in the East African region.
How is she corrupt?
And calling.
How is she corrupt?
You know, corruption is
How is she corrupt?
Yeah, let me explain. Corruption is not just about stealing money.
Yeah, but
you
don't
can be
bandy
corrupt in your
words.
thoughts.
Don't bandy
You can
words.
be corrupt in your policies. You can when you're busy arresting Kenyans.
Because they're invading the country.
We're talking about an East we're talking about East African community.
Let's allow Senator to.
We're talking about
free movement.
Yes, we're talking about East African community where we even had our passports. We changed our passports so that we can be able to enter in and out of Tanzania freely. And now, if you are a person like me who speaks up against certain ills in the community, you'd be afraid when you're crossing the border in Namanga or going into Tanzania because you don't know what plans the government of Tanzania has for you. And that is, you know, people perceive corruption as corruption of just money. But then you can be corrupt in your policies. You can be corrupt in your thinking. You can be corrupt in your divisiveness. Like right now, that war she is trying to create even a religious war between the Muslims and the non-Muslims. You can be corrupt in every single... How the hell are you going to convince us that 32 million Tanzanians went out to vote when you shut down the internet? Now, Wakili is talking about shutting down the internet as being a form of protecting the sovereignty of that state.
Absolutely.
If you want, you know,
2025.
you see, you talked about, you know, in the past, the enemy would come with guns. And how would we respond? With our military with guns, right? Now, they are coming with the internet.
Yes.
You want to tell me those Tanzanians have no way to use the internet to actually tell us the truth? Mm-hmm. I mean, to me, it is just escapism. Right now, I'm reading about the Senate talking about the rise of hate speech. And I'm laughing because the paradox of it is that this Senate is the mother of all divisiveness, of all nonsense. And the one thing that I always tell people, if you say the internet is the tool...
But can you accuse a whole
Wait,
Senate?
yes, I am, as an institution.
Can you accuse a whole
all
Senate?
Of it, as an institution.
No.
Because I've sat there. And I know that the corruption that we need to do... In fact, you talked about Tanzania having 200 and what CCM members of parliament. And so now Suluhu has total control. First, I doubt that those people actually won legally. Like, I doubt that people went out and voted for those CCM people.
All right.
And then the second thing is, if parliament and if the setup of this, of our democracy, because people keep, you're talking about, we want to remove the speck in our neighbor, but we have a log in our eye.
A huge one.
That is true. But I keep saying this, you don't need to bring any more new laws to change anything in terms of divisiveness, in terms of corruption. What you need is to let parliament be independent. Okay. And the fact that we are sending people to parliament who don't even understand their role in parliament, that's the reason why the SHA regulations passed. That's the reason why the affordable housing regulations passed.
Let us come back.
And then you come back and say, people are stealing SHA money. But as members of parliament, you passed regulations that allowed the loopholes for the money to be stolen.
Let's come back and consider now what's happening in Kenya. Lady and gentlemen, we've taken enough time to discuss Tanzania, and I think we can spend the next 20 minutes.
I needed to conclude by saying IALA needs to be shut down.
It's already a paralysis.
It needs to be shut. There's no East African Assembly. That is a lot of nonsense going on there.
Should we stop singing the anthem?
African Union needs to be, you know the way you fold and say now we are redundant. It needs to be folded. It is redundant. And then let us now start, let's go out and look for new partnerships. Even the UN.
Right.
Even the UN.
Let's now have the story about the opposition. Allow me, gentlemen, we do have a story about the Kenyan opposition planning to visit Bondo. And I just want to use that story as a basis for us to discuss Kenyan politics now, because it would appear we've gone too quiet about Kenyan politics, and a lot is happening. So let's have that story.
The political pilgrimage to Bondo continues as leaders troop to Kango Kajaramogi